often told funny jokes or stories to make you laugh, and he would laugh with you. Sometimes, even if it wasn't appropriate. He had his problems like everyone else. He was direct and had no filter. He often said things that you'd get mad at him for. You could give him tough love, and he'd never hold a grudge. He'd come back every time and pretend like nothing had ever taken place. What Dad was trying to show was love. Sometimes his version was misunderstood. He would show you his version by making sure you had everything you needed. Asking, are you okay? Are you being looked after? How are your kids? To some of you, he was a funny uncle, a brother, a cousin, a nephew, a son, a friend. To us, he was our dad, and we loved him unconditionally the way he did us. He had a way of bringing out anger in all of us at some times. His approach was different. It still came from the heart. If Dad wanted to talk to you, he would call nonstop on every phone you owned. Who in this family hasn't experienced Dad calling nonstop? I don't see many hands. It drove us all nuts. If you didn't answer the phone, he'd often drive over and honk in the driveway. You got annoyed and you came out. Through annoyed rage, if you stopped to listen to what he was saying, you heard a message of love in the way Dad showed it. Or you heard, can I borrow some money? If you loaned Dad money, he always paid you back. Most times he would show up right back after and try to borrow it again, promising he'd give it back to you as soon as he got it back. Dad valued the moment and what he could do for those around him. Who could he help out? The response since Dad's passing has been amazing. We've heard stories of generosity that Dad did this or Dad did that for anyone who was lucky enough to call him family or friend. When we were young, Dad took us out west to try to make a better life. Our family is left with fond memories about Vancouver. Our life was good. There's not one family member who wouldn't go back to that time if we could. One of the great memories is about going to a buffet to eat and being told by Dad to fill up and get our money's worth. Dad liked the simpler pleasures, and food was certainly one of them. As children, if Dad was sleeping on the couch and we had something to eat, we learned to be quiet, or else we'd risk him waking up and asking for something. He would do things like dress like Santa and surprise his kids on Christmas Eve. We had everything you imagine a happy family had growing up. There were times we didn't have a lot, but we had each other. All these years later, the bad has drifted away and we're left with the good. It was a lesson for us kids on what to strive for in our own families. Our past is filled with relatives we've met and stories of relatives we never knew. We were gone so many years that we missed his family, his roots. We knew a different man than most. We hope his life was good growing up, but could only hear most of the stories from others. Dad always said his life was hard when they were young, but they were together. He said there were problems like any family has, but he loved his family, right from his mom and dad to his brothers and sisters. He accepted all of you without hesitation. We imagine that family closeness is what we experienced out west. No matter what happened in our lives, Dad always put you in a good light. To us, it sounded like he loved it. He often told us Nanny Goldie stories and how important she was to him when he was young. To us, we didn't understand the connection because we hadn't experienced it like he had. When we moved back east, Dad showed us his youth. He took us around the families we didn't know or barely remembered because we were so young when we left. He tried to explain how everyone was related, and it was a whirlwind of names and people. To this day, we're still not sure how Dad had so many relatives that we never knew about. To us, it was a foreign idea we had never experienced. Mom and Dad's marriage didn't work out. Mom spent 22 years raising kids with Dad. Like many marriages, it couldn't stand the difficult years, yet, as your children, we love you both for the job you did. They both said the best thing they were given from each other was their kids and grandkids. To the grandchildren, Grampy loved you and would have done anything to show you the love he shared with his kids years before. Someday we hope you will understand and show that same love to our future grandchildren. We hope that we pass the simple message of love from Dad down to you. Our Father will always love you and be in your heart. He's watching from heaven. When we were kids, we often saw Dad with Uncle George and Mark. To us kids, it was Dad, our uncle, and their buddy. We didn't realize the importance of their relationship. Mark moved out west and lost touch with them. While Mark was gone, Uncle George passed away and he didn't know. A few years ago, while on social media, I got a message from Mark asking about Dad. Dad was so excited and leapt at the chance to hear from him again after all this time had passed. It's not till the last few years that we've come to realize how important Mark was to Dad and George. For that, Mark, we will be ever grateful to you for being in our Dad's life and supporting him with the same unconditional love that both he and George had for you. Donna, you came into our Dad's life when he was ill and you looked after him. You belong in our Dad's memories. There is not one person in this world who doesn't admire you for what you did for Dad when he was so sick. You put up with all his moods, the trips to the doctor, the trials at the end of his life. His children and grandchildren will remember you for what you did in his life to make it better and give him comfort. Dad never wanted people to worry. I'm sure he knew how serious his health situation was, that it was a matter of time, and he never told anyone. He shared the quality time he had left with each one of us with love, no matter the response he got. He wanted his family and friends to have the same outlook of love that he had for them. Just before his death, he gave his kids and grandkids a great Christmas, one we will remember forever. Dad used to say to me, there's evil and good in this world. Dad saw a beauty I never realized until now. He tried to teach us the beauty of love. We remember our father as a good man who had problems like everyone does. Remember him showing up with bread for your kids. Remember our father for the sacrifices he made in his life to enrich yours. His family will never forget the man we call Dad and are happy to have known him. Remember him for his stories. Make him proud as he has made us. You will be sorely missed by your passing, Dad. The years of being sick and suffering are over. In time, the hurt will fade and we'll be left with only the good. Thank you for being our father, our relative, our friend. As you look down laughing and making fun of us for crying, know that you were loved